Hey, there we go. Okay.
Hi everyone, welcome to the European Book Slam Xtra. I'm your host Jules. We've got Adam here, we've got Reese, and we've also got Claire. Hello everyone. Sorry about that. We had my fault. I hit the wrong button. the joys of working with technology. All right, so I've just done a little bit of reading from Indy's book, What If White People Were Slaves?
Oh no, Reese.
Reese is having an echo on Clubhouse and all sorts of things. So we just do you want to come off the stream, Reese?
No, I just came out of Clubhouse because it was just we were having issues.
No, I clicked go live at the beginning, but it just obviously didn't go. So thank you, Indy, for jumping in there. That was extremely helpful.
It's too bad no one on the outside got to hear the reading you just did. That was lovely.
I know. Well, it's fine. It's recorded on Clubhouse, so if anyone wants to hear the read, they can listen to it on there. Under the European Books, under the Book Slam Xtra. Sorry. So yeah, it is recorded. It's just not live on here. So
no worries. It's all good.
Oh, all the joys.
We know to look for that little live button over in the corner. We'll look for that next time. Yeah,
I will look for that next time. Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry. Okay. So thank you, Indy, for pointing that out. Okay, so you guys actually did hear the read, and Clubhouse is on Clubhouse as well. So we're all going to talk about it. Not my reading of it, because, but thank you. Thank you. What do you think about his book? Because it's talking about, I'll just summarize the people online. So his book is basically switching roles. So the white people end up they're the slaves, and black people are the slave owners. So it's a complete switch around of history. And the main character I've just read, she is, I think she's actually supposed to be an elderly lady, if I remember that correctly, Nakia. So she is talking about her experience, I suppose, what she's seen. I must admit, it was quite gruesome, some bits. What did you guys think? Not in a bad way.
I think that's an appropriate word for it. I think gruesome was the point Indy was trying to get across, that he's sharing real, authentic treatment of human beings from the past, and he switched the narrative around. What if it was a white person being boiled alive in oil, and because white people did this to many, many black people in the past in America? So yeah, it's a brilliant take. I haven't read it yet. I just got my own copy in the mail, but it seems to have been executed beautifully and harshly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to gaining more empathy by reading it, like you said. Yeah.
He's got some really beautiful turn of phrases, I think, throughout. There's some really lovely descriptions in there that are very. His style of writing is very different from the books that I've read, where there's not just like a whole chunk of description, just the description saying it really punches up. You can see what's happening. The description of women being boiled alive because she tried to escape was horrific. And it's actually like last week. It was actually quite a difficult. Not last week, the week before when I read some. It was actually quite a difficult read in the sense that some of the stuff that he was describing in there made me feel really uncomfortable. The man getting his manhood chopped off. I mean, I'm not a man, but I cringed a little bit at that. I was just like, oh my God, that just sounds awful. What did you think? This is open to all three of you. You're welcome to join in the conversation.
Somebody else talk. Somebody else.
Like, we've talked enough. But no, what you're right about it. About that though, it really does bring to mind a lot of the things I've heard in history classes, while I was in school, and even in college, and not just in high school, but in college as well, taking more in-depth classes on not just slavery, but on the Black experience in general. There's so much that people have not been privy to that this book is going to bring to light. And it's not just, okay, people were enslaved and then they became free, and now we're at the point right now where we're kind of going backwards. But it's so much deeper than that. It's about the psychological experience of it too, because it's not, nowadays it's more psychological than it is physical. There are some physical aspects, that are still happening, but it's a mindset. And until everybody outside of that understands the mindset, we won't have any changes. We will not have any changes that are going to be beneficial to all of us.
I heard there was a poll done recently in America where they asked people, it was all about race and cultural issues to do with what's going on in the country at the moment. And 20% of the people who were polled felt that mixed race relationships were absolutely, should never happen. Should never intermix different races together. And some people are like, even the word race makes them feel like, makes their blood boil, because it makes them feel like they're inferior or they're different or whatever from other people. So it's quite interesting to know that that other people have these very strong opinions about important issues like culture. But the fact that 20%, that's a large amount of people who have that opinion. And I wonder if it's to do with a religious aspect or a beliefs aspect, or whether it's to do with something a bit more sinister. Do you understand what I mean? And as someone who's in a mixed race relationship, I find that quite difficult to wrap my head around the fact that there's so many people out there that still have that racist opinion of that kind of relationship.
Yep.
And it's hard, it's really hard, because you have to fight against it the whole time. You feel like you're at war, almost, I suppose. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, the way Indy turns it around, yeah, the dismissiveness that you feel from the slave owners that he took straight from history. I mean, that these people who are lacking color are lower beings, that is exactly the way that the slave owners thought, just twist around the other way. I mean, it's I can't wait to read it, because it is brilliant, and I've just got to get through. I got to get through what I'm reading so that I can read it, because it is going to be really exciting and intense. I know, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to read it.
I mean, the bits that I've read remind me a little bit of the style of emotional pulling that you get from watching The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if you've seen that. Every single episode is just, it's traumatic to get through. And it feels like this is almost that kind of thing, whereby it's almost like every chapter I feel is going to have stuff in it that is torturous to read. But I do think that it will give people empathy. I think one of the reasons why people lack empathy is because they don't have that understanding, that knowledge of what actually happened to fellow human beings. Being boiled alive, having manhood chopped off. I'm not sure if lots of people know about that. And I'm aware that that's something that did actually happen. We talked a bit before about school systems and how school systems kind of cover it. I don't know how the school systems work in every country. How does your school system? What kind of stuff do you get taught about slave trade? Is it Australia you're from? There.
Well, I don't know if you guys know much about Australian history, but it's very much built on Indigenous slavery over here. My nana actually worked to uncover some government documents to get a class action going a bunch of years ago to get stolen wages returned to a lot of families. It was something she was very passionate about, and she's just retired from, but she did a lot of work there in trying to fix some of the damage done from a financial standpoint. And also to just get the information out there to people, because a lot of the documentation was covered up by the government as to exactly how bad things were. So I've grown up sort of knowing all about that myself with our country. Yeah. But I think what you were saying about people not having the empathy comes a lot from distancing yourself from it. It's a past event, and we had nothing to do with it, and why do we still have to be treating people this way? And like in Australia, we had our Prime Minister a bunch of years ago do a apology, and there was a lot of people that were really, really upset about the fact that we were still having to apologize for the damage that had been done way before us. But the fact of the matter is, it's not all way before us. It still goes on everywhere, and there's still like the filtering down of effects of what did happen. Like I work as a nurse, and I know as well in that point of view that a lot of Indigenous people have health conditions that were caused by when the white people invaded, and so they've still got these health problems that are coming down through their family now. And they've also got a big distrust in the medical systems, because a lot of the time, like they were raised to be told that, you know, white people aren't going to take care of them, or they'll put them on certain drugs that are going to be worse for them and everything. So it is, you know, a lot of the stuff that went on from decades ago is still very much a problem we need to be aware of and being empathetic towards.
Wow, thank you for telling us all about that. Yeah, that's important information to get out. Wow. And it's amazing that your Nana was involved. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a wonderful woman, that one.
That takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, to sort of stand up against the government and the authorities that are, you know, ruling the land. Yeah, that's amazing. There's I know only a little bit about the history of Australia. I don't know a huge amount. But am I right in saying that there's lots of Indigenous groups that are pushed out of the, like, white areas, and they live almost rural lives, completely separate, and it's almost like shanty town. You know, they don't have any amenities like, you know, white people do. You know, running water and things like that. Am I right in knowing that?
Yeah, there's a lot of communities that are just Indigenous people where they don't integrate with white people at all, as still in Australia, and it's very interesting. A lot of people are still have extreme racist opinions of those groups. A lot of them have alcohol issues and drug issues that, again, is our fault, because that's what we brought to them, and then that's what they've been forced to grow up in because of all their distrust and inability to find their place in the white community. So a lot of them have just been left behind. Yeah.
There's a very good film that I watched called Rabbit Proof Fence, which is it's based in the 1930s, and it's based on a true story, and it follows two Aboriginal girls or Indigenous girls who literally they follow a fence that has divided Australia, and they have to sort of escape capture, and they actually do end up getting captured by whites. I don't know the name of any of the characters, so apologies for that. But and they get put in like a forced schooling almost, which is very similar to what happened in America, where they're sort of like, and also Canada, where they're sort of like taught English ways, or, you know, white person's ways, and this is the correct way to do it, this is the correct religion to have, and all that kind of stuff. It's really sad. It's a really, really sad film.
Yeah, history is a really, really sad thing to look back at, definitely, especially with the perspective that we have now. I can't imagine how people were able to even live like that. It's disgusting, but we have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
What's disturbing to me is how similar a lot of the things that happen in Australia are to what's happened in the States with the Native Americans, with all of the enslaved people that came into the United States as well. It's disturbing. It's disturbing how similar all of that stuff was. Just like Claire was saying about the indigenous people in Australia, same issues going on with the Native Americans in the States. They've put them on reserved land. They stole their land. They've poisoned their water. I mean, it's just so many things that have happened over time that it's sad that it's so globally accepted, or should I say was at one point globally accepted.
I suppose, yeah, and history sort of has repeated itself multiple times, because we had, I mean, this is a very, very, very long time ago, so, you know, it's not something that we deal with now, but Britain was invaded many times by different cultural groups, and obviously the natives were also treated, you know, equally as badly, but also integrated at the same time. You know, you would think that we would learn about how to treat fellow humans. You would think after this amount of time that we would be able to show our fellow humans with a modicum of respect, regardless of, you know, nationality, gender, sexuality, age, any of that. And it's just so sad that we haven't reached that stage. Dogs show each other more respect than some human beings show each other. So, you know what I mean? You know, like they at least respect each other in their pack. So yeah, I just think that as human beings, we own the atrocities that we've done. And just to bring back to the book, I think that he's done a really good job at being able to conjure up that horrific side of history, but pacify it at the same time. So, yeah. All right.
Can we ask Claire about her writing?
I was just about to move on to Claire. Absolutely. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead. Did you want to ask any questions? You obviously have one.
Well, why don't you just tell us a little about your writing, Claire? You've just been published. Is that what you were telling us?
Yeah, I got my first book published in August, so that's very exciting.
Well, what is it? What's it called? What's it about?
It is a boy band romance book. So yeah, my nana did all of that stuff, and I'm so proud of her, and she's proud of me publishing a boy band romance. So different people.
She should be. She should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrate everyone. Celebrate everyone. And there is a book for everybody. You know, it doesn't matter what you're writing about. There is always a reader out there who wants to read your book. You know, so I'd love to hear a little bit about it. So what inspired you to write? That's a very unique thing to write about. So tell us a little bit about it, what it's about, what made you want to write.
Well, okay. So I'm going to get embarrassing teenager on you. But I was very into boy bands as a teenager, obviously. So a lot of the inspiration for this book was that experience. But particularly for this book, it was the phenomenon of queer baiting in boy bands. I followed a bunch of Korean boy bands, and the shipping culture is absolutely perpetuated by the members themselves as a form of marketing for the audience. But in general, like, Korea is still a very homophobic country. So over there, it's still a case where if you come out, it's kind of career ending for you. But then on stage, they're sort of perpetuating this idea that they're in relationships with each other. And it sort of sends a very confusing and toxic message that you can be queer as long as it's only an act. And there's like undoubtedly gay men that are in those bands, potentially getting their hearts invested in other band members who aren't queer but are willing to pretend to have a relationship with them or kiss them on stage and all sorts of stuff just to please the fans. So my book sort of explores that idea. So I'm just reading some notes because I get nervous.
You're fine.
perfect.
Doing great.
My book explores that in a minor way with my main character, Jasper, who is very confident about the act and flirts openly with the other main character, Ryan, as soon as they meet. But then it takes a good portion of the book for him to realize that he is gay because he's so used to just like pushing this act that's sort of stopping him from actually discovering that himself, that is a part of him. And it's not just a performance because he's just used to acting that way for the attention. And then as part of the book, the manager outs him and then to get the more attention on the band, and then has the audacity to tell Jasper that he wants him to deny it. So the book sort of focuses on the way that being queer is used as a selling point while also being silenced within a lot of industries still.
Wow, that's heavy.
Oh, you must have done a lot of research in terms of, because K-pop is something that I know like hardly anything about. I would not profess to know either any of the songs, acts, nothing. So you've obviously done a lot of research for that. So, you know, what did you have to do? Obviously, apart from just like the music.
It was mostly, like, honestly, I was just a massive fangirl of a boy band. And then as I got older, I became more aware of like the toxicity within the Korean music industry. And like, in particular, one of the members that I followed and was very adamant was in a relationship with a band member, seems to be quite happy not being in the band now. And it sort of seems like maybe there was a bit of a problem there with having to hide himself or having to be himself as an act. So that sort of was the inspiration there.
Wow.
And that's such a unique thing to write about as well. I've not heard of anyone writing about that. And
Yeah.
I also
Sorry.
and the dog agrees.
Dog is outraged.
Yeah. So here, yes, I agree too. Oh, that's cute. I think that's such a unique thing to write about. I've not actually heard of anything like that so far. So it's fantastic that you've been published as well. It must be such a nice feeling.
It's very full of drama.
It can be quite overwhelming at times, I think, can't it? Adam and I were talking at the very beginning about writing can be quite a lonely process, but different authors for different reasons, and the different processes that authors go through. And we have a very different process, each of us. But I wondered what your process was in terms of writing. Do you have like a particular style that you do? Like, do you have a method that you use? I'm looking for tips here more than anything else.
I know that's right. We can always use extra.
I'm probably not the person to go to for tips for writing. I honestly made it up as I went along and then got to the end and I was like, oh, look, that's come full circle. It's a story. That's good.
I love that. That is actually just like, yep, done it.
Yeah. Well, I was posting it online originally and I would sort of post a chapter a week, but it would sometimes be like the day before I was meant to post another chapter and be like, crap, I haven't written anything yet, and just like quickly write something and post it, and it just sort of worked.
Oh, good.
That's such an interesting way of doing it. Where did you post it? Was it on PvP?
On a website called gayauthors.org.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that one.
No, I don't. I was looking up specifically where to post like LGBTQ sort of stories, and yeah, that one came up, and I was like, I'll give it a go. My original thought was like, if nobody reads it, I'll just quit writing. But then it became quite a sort of successful on that website, and the full story, like this is book one that I've published now, but it will be a 3-book series. The full story online was 101 chapters. And it is about 198,000-ish views now. So
Wow.
That's
take
really
it down.
good.
And I was like, oh, I should probably publish that then. Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm gonna have to look at the website. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know, Adam, you explore all sorts of sexuality in your book, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Reese, I know you have in yours. My main character's also she's bi, so yeah, that would be really cool to have a look at and see what else is on there. See what else. So is it always weekly? Can you choose whether it's monthly or weekly or?
That was sort of a goal that I had for myself initially, but like I've got 2 kids and I'm a shift worker now, so they're lucky if I post them in a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You take it or leave it, guys.
Very busy. Like here's the trash. See you next
I
time.
love that. It's just like I've made it now. I've gone viral, so it's fine. I don't need to worry about it. Then you're an influencer. It's all right. That's so cool.
The only reason I'm still writing on there at all is that the readers asked me to keep posting the story when I was finished it, and I was like, no, I'm done. So like, we want to see more of these characters. I'm like, oh, I'll try.
I have no more in my head. That would be, you know, what would be really cool to actually get that up on the screen somewhere. I might get Indy to do it. What was if you once you finished your read, you can actually post messages on the chat, or you can also post it on the comments thing. What is the website address again? Was it gayauthors.org?
Yeah, I think that's it.
If anyone's listening, or anyone after this is listening or watching who is interested in posting their work, I'm assuming that you either write in an LGBTQ character or you are part of that community yourself, and or both, a mix of both. Is that right? I understand that.
Yeah, it's mostly LGBTQ stories as far as I'm aware. Like that's a good place to go for a lot of the same themes. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, well, I've put that up there now, so people, obviously, if you
And do you have your own website, Claire, where you're selling your released book?
I don't have a website, no, but I'm published through JMS Books, which is also a small queer publishing press in America. So.
Okay, cool. Well, would you like to read a little of your work to us?
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Yay! Well, why don't we turn it over to you, Claire, and you can read any portion that you'd like.
Okay. I was going to read chapter 5 just because that particular chapter is very big on the fan side of things. So it gives a lot of what the whole story is about all in the one chapter there.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place you front and center on the screen, but we're all here in the background. We're all supporting you. Okay, don't worry if you make a mistake. It's absolutely fine. Just carry on reading, and pretend like you're reading to your children.
Yeah. All right.
Why do that? All right. Okay. Over to you.
To know going into this chapter is that Ryan is a new member in the band. He was placed as a dancer, not as a singer. And the end of the last chapter finishes with their manager announcing just before they go on stage that Ryan is going to have to sing solo. Okay. A week's worth of restrained annoyance, and Jasper has someone to take his anger out on at last. Not even waiting to see Ryan or the others' reaction, he launches his built-up rage at the manager like a missile. He's not ready to perform, are you fucking kidding me? Take him for a quick warm-up and run-through, Chris waves off his concerns, striding down the hallway. Jasper storms after him, not about to drop this. A quick warm-up and run-through won't change shit. You cannot make him perform solo, he's vocally not there. He needs more training than, 2 weeks? I've made my mind up, Jasper. Yeah, you pulled that decision right out of your ass, just like you woke up and decided to add him to the band. Don't bother asking the other people this will affect. What the fuck are you thinking? No one put you in charge, Jasper. Get off your high horse and do as you're told. Well, excuse the absolute shit out of me. You asked me to train him, so I've been working with him to get his voice ready. When did you last hear him sing? He isn't ready, and this would damage our reputation and destroy his. Jasper grabs his manager's shoulder, desperate to get through to him. Don't lay a hand on me, Chris turns, clenching his fist and raising it to the bottom of his ribs before stopping himself. Instead, he jabs a finger at Jasper's chest. You work for me. You work under me. I decide what is best for the band, not you. Jasper doesn't back down, instead testing his restraint by getting right in Chris's face as though daring him to throw a punch. Your decisions are pitiful. You think these stunts you're pulling are what's best for the band? What does it do for the band if I refuse to get on stage? You let down a lot of your fans. Is it worth it for a tantrum? Blake grabs Jasper's shoulders, pulling him back. He'll be fine, Jas. I'm sure you've got him to a point where he can sing one song. Jasper sighs and shakes his head, but allows Blake to lead him back to the dressing room. His anger fades to concern with each step closer to Ryan. Sorry, Rye, I tried, but he's determined to have you sing. You'll just have to give it your all and try not to panic. Try not to panic, yeah. Ryan nods, placing a hand on his chest. Stress emulates from him with each scant breath. How long have we got? Jasper asks, keeping his tone calm. Blake checks his phone. About 15 minutes. Jasper takes Ryan by the hand. Come with me. Jasper, I'm so sorry, but I'm not ready to sing in front of people. I don't think I can. I can't do this. Everyone will hate me. This will ruin the band. I'm going to ruin the band. I'm ruining it for you guys. Ryan's hand squeezes Jasper as the stream of words come out with urgent emphasis. Jasper raises his eyebrows at Ryan, checking that the room next door is unlocked and empty before leading Ryan inside. I think that's the most I've ever heard you talk. Sorry, when I get nervous. Jasper turns to Ryan, letting go of his hand and taking him by the wrist. He lifts and places Ryan's hand on his chest, inhaling until his lungs are full as he holds Ryan's eye contact. As Jasper exhales slowly and draws in another deep breath, he watches Ryan subconsciously mimic his breathing pattern too. His tense jaw softens and the stressed frowns on his forehead smoothing. Are you okay? Ryan asks. It's Jasper's turn to look at him with confusion. Then he realizes his own heart is racing. His grip on Ryan's wrist loosens and he takes half a step back. No offense, but we don't have time for meltdowns and panic. You need to calm down. You're going to have to sing, so let's warm up your voice. Jasper stares down at his feet as the song starts and Ryan's weak, timid, and shaky voice sings the first line. He silently begs his body not to react and visibly cringe when he hears Ryan straining to sing louder for the almost silent audience. Ryan's hand holding the microphone is shaking and tears are forming in the corners of his eyes. Jasper forces himself to smile supportively in Ryan's direction, wishing Ryan would look at him to see it. While they'd been waiting to come out on stage, Jasper had told the others they should sing backup if Ryan struggled. None of them seemed to think going against the manager's commands would be a good idea, but he figures they might understand better now. Ryan needs them to have his back. Blake stares at Ryan deadpan until Jasper catches his eye. Blake smiles back like nothing's wrong, so Jasper gives him a nod and a wink, raising the microphone to his lips. Without a second thought, Blake does the same, coming in at the bridge with Ryan. Together they sound good. Jasper's sweet melodic voice smooths over the rougher notes Ryan struggles to reach, and Blake's voice takes the attention away almost completely. To further distract from Ryan's voice, Jasper does what he's best at, redirecting their attention so the audience focuses on what he wants them to take notice of. Fans scream as Jasper strides confidently over to Ryan, placing an affectionate hand on his shoulder and singing his line to Ryan like he's serenading him, before shooting the audience a flirty grin that sends the fans into a frenzy. Luke and Simon come in at the chorus, their powerful vocals sounding awesome as always. Luke continues the verse after the chorus, his solo verse anyway. He steps forward to sing, belting out his line to help take the attention off his bandmates. Jasper lowers his microphone by his side so the audience doesn't hear what he leans in to whisper to Ryan. The action sets off the excited screaming from the fans again, especially as Jasper's hand rests on Ryan's, lowering his microphone as well, to make sure this stays between them. Like we've practiced, soften your tone, don't force your voice to hit notes you can't hit yet, don't strain. Jasper steps back from Ryan with an encouraging smile. Ryan fakes a smile back, then nods and raises the microphone again, continuing the next verse more delicately as instructed. Simon sings along with Ryan as it's usually still his part. Ryan stops singing mid-verse and turns to Jasper, pale and shaking. I can't do this, I'm sorry. He takes a step towards the side of the stage, but Jasper grabs his arm, pulling him back and stepping between Ryan and the audience. Jasper slips his arm over Ryan's shoulders and whispers to him again, while fans scream at the onstage display of affection. Don't walk off, take a breath and show them you deserve to be here. Jasper slides his hand down Ryan's arm, holding the microphone. Make them see your worth. Ryan's grip on the microphone loosens, allowing Jasper to take it from him. Pretending this is all planned, Jasper steps back, giving Ryan space to dance, to show what he can do. Ryan improvises dance moves while his bandmates sing. The scream from the audience have the whole band looking over at him again, this time for good reason, and their everything is fine smiles turn genuine. When Ryan runs out of ideas of dance moves after the chorus, Jasper returns to his side, handing him back the microphone and winking at him. Jasper sings to Ryan, and Ryan sings a line back, which earns him a pleased smile before Jasper's attention once again goes to the audience. As the song ends, the whole band comes together. The voices blend nicely and hide Ryan's struggling vocals. Jasper gestures at Ryan to take a bow. Big cheer for Ryan, everyone. He had a nasty cold this last week, but didn't want to let you down. The fans give an overwhelming roar of support that is impossible not to feel empowered by. Thank you guys for an awesome show. We can't wait to be back soon with a new album. Simon takes over the goodbyes, as usual, while the other members just hang around. Blake loops his arm around Jasper, who leans back into him, knowing it'd overshadow Simon's goodbye speech. While Simon and Luke are good at the professional side of things, Jasper and Blake are brilliant at playing on the fantasy that they have some kind of secret romance. Their fans have been supporting and shipping them passionately ever since the group debuted because of moments like this. Just for some extra fun they rarely get, Blake fakes a jealous glare towards Ryan as he settles his hand on Jasper's hip to appear possessive. Jasper pouts at Blake and sweeps a sweaty fringe from his face, sucking up to him while Luke leads them all off stage. Well done, Jasper. Chris is waiting in the hallway to talk about their performance the moment they are backstage. Jasper sees Chris and his attitude kicks back into overdrive. On stage, he'd been in his element, egging on the audience and playing up the flirty personality to please the fans, messing around with the members and the audience. Yet now, facing the manager again, the festering frustration bubbles within him once more. I have nothing to say to you. The "he has a cold" line really won them over, though. You've got the pity of the fans now, Ryan. That's a good thing. They'll defend you and build you up. You are despicable. Ryan doesn't need the fans to pity him. He deserves better than what you just did to him. You can't act like that went well. You tried to ruin him. That's his reputation and career you're fucking with, and ours too in the process. What the hell is wrong with you? He almost walked the fuck off stage because you put pressure on him and demanded he do something he's incapable of doing well yet. Is that what you wanted? To destroy what little confidence he has and make him feel like trash in the process? We're not fucking toys. Jasper snaps, having plenty to say to Chris after all. A little drama never hurt a band, Chris shrugs, missing the point. Yeah, but a singer that can't sing sure does. Jasper storms off before he does anything that might end in a lawsuit. For that stunt, Chris deserved to have his flaws paraded in public. Karma needs to hit him before Jasper does. An enthusiastic entertainment reporter sits opposite the band, a sea of fans surround them, contained only by a fence and a few brave security guards that could only hope to be deaf. The high-pitched squeals of fangirls would surely ring in their eardrums for days. Thanks for having us, Simon beams at the host, then turns his attention to the people standing behind the fence. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for coming out and supporting us. A reply of, "We love you, Simon," is screamed from somewhere among the crowd, along with some other less tame things, including, "Please have my babies." Welcome, Ryan, the host gestures at him. Thank you. Ryan gives a sweet wave to the fans that scream at the sound of his voice. What an introduction to you. So glad we've got a bit of time to hear you sing. Sorry to hear you haven't been well lately. Your dance skills are incredible, though. Did you plan that or did you just make it up? The host reads from her clipboard. Oh, I panicked because of my voice, so I improvised the routine. That's even more incredible. What did Jasper whisper to you on stage? A roar of screams erupt from the fans, apparently thrilled to see their favourite member getting close to the attractive new member. Wouldn't you like to know? Jasper shoots a wink at the camera, earning him an enthusiastic scream of excitement. Jasper knew the number of fans that hope to see the members fall in love with each other outweighs the ones fantasizing about their own romance with the members. He'd never understood why the fans are so into being queer-baited, but if it makes them happy, he's happy to comply. He just told me not to strain my voice and to do some dancing instead, Ryan answers, looking a little confused at the hyped-up response at Jasper's comment. So don't go mixing up my words in your stories, all right? Jasper continues, playing with the fans' heads, caring very little for the interview. He also doesn't want to let Ryan play down the fan service he'd pulled off. The way Ryan had played along on stage, Jasper has high hopes of starting an all-out shipping war between his dedicated Blasper shippers and the newly rising Riceper shippers, who had appeared from thin air the moment Ryan sat next to Jasper at his first press conference. What stories? The members smile at Ryan's naivety. Blake nudges him. Oh, you've heard of fan fiction, right? Because you're famous now, so people are writing about you. There's fan fiction about me already? Of course. Have you looked at you? Our fans don't waste time. A quick search of your name brings up quite a few titles already. Mostly smart, because why wouldn't they? Jasper playfully checks him out. Jasper's dedicated interest in the creative responses from his fans is what helps him become so adored. He has loads of fan art of himself pinned and printed out and displayed on his bedroom wall, and often retweets fans that tag him in their work. He watches and promotes covers of their songs and follows forums. Even has a fake fan account so he can talk to them from time to time, which gives him the intel on how to act to drive the fans crazy. In all seriousness, though, I love the way our fans take the time to write about us. There's a lot of talent out there, and I support that. Just please make me a little less of a bitch. They've got to have some accuracy, right, Jas? Come on. Jasper gives a dramatic fake gasp at Blake's comment. I'm not that bad, am I? Jasper asks, knowing damn well he is, and loving himself for it. The host tries to get them back on topic with her next question. Ryan, can you share with us how everyone reacted to you? Oh, fanfic authors are going to go wild over our first meeting. Jasper covers his cheeks as if embarrassed. Truthfully, he doesn't care all that much and takes a lot of pleasure in the responses he received from his flirty insinuations. Should I tell them how we met, or leave that one up to their imagination? Ryan casts Jasper a wink, either becoming more confident or understanding Jasper's game. Jasper didn't expect this shy man to choose the middle of an interview to flirt back, but it set his heart rate up again. I wouldn't recommend leaving it to their imaginations. I'm very aware of what I'm the target of and what they will make me out to be like. Well, I met Simon, Luke, and Blake first. The manager introduced me to them, and they were all very kind and welcoming. But I met Jasper when he'd just gotten out of the shower. Ryan makes it sound as though he'd walked into the bathroom and found him there naked. He flirted with me straight away, so I guess we were both surprised by that first meeting. In my defense, I'm only human, Jasper shrugs. The host smiles, leaning forward a little to show her interest. What did you say, Jasper? That I will never tell. Jasper zips his lips with a cheeky wink. Ryan's carefully insinuating recount has him already looking forward to reading all the smuts that will come from that one misleading statement. He can just about see it now. Jasper steps out of the shower, naked before the devastatingly handsome stranger, but he's not flustered. He introduces himself, stepping in close and giving a flirty remark. Seduced before he knows it, Ryan presses Jasper's back against the wall, his tongue dominating Jasper's mouth. Jasper works on getting Ryan naked as fast as he can. Luke pats Ryan's back once they're inside the dressing room, out of sight of the fans. You did well, even survived Jasper flirting with you in an interview. Truly commendable effort. Thanks, Ryan's voice sounds raspy and dry, and he looks drained. Good interview, guys, Chris claps as he strolls into their dressing room. We need to advertise Ryan more, though. He didn't get a good chance today with the singing. Interesting word choice. He's not a product. Jasper steps past Chris with more attitude than usual. He grabs his bag and pulls out some cologne, spraying himself, then taking his phone out. The fans seem to like you. Luke gives Ryan a comforting smile. You heard the screams when you started dancing, right? They loved it. I've been monitoring social media and there's not a lot of mention about him. We need to get more attention on Ryan. Chris folds his arms, watching Jasper. You're looking right now, aren't you? Yes, I am, and you're clearly missing the post-interview tweets because there are quite a few mentions actually. But I think it's good that the attention happens slower for him. I don't think Ryan's really ready for that yet. Are you ready to be obsessed over and scrutinized over everything you do? Because now that they've discovered you, you can't hide in the shadows anymore. You'll be on constant display for people. Jasper takes a bottle of water from the table beside him, passing it to Ryan, who is pale at the thought. Thanks. Ryan slumped into a chair, struggling to open the water with his shaky hands. It's obvious that all of this has taken a lot out of him. Jasper looks from him to the manager like, see what I mean? You've already thrown him in the deep end. Let's let him learn to swim. You can advertise your newest product when he's ready to be marketed and sold. Chris gives a heavy, defeated sigh and mumbles to himself as he exits the room. That's what I thought, idiot. Jasper flips him off as the door closes, looking back at his phone and scrolling through the tweets. The way you're going, Christopher's going to lose his patience with you soon. You need to tone it down, Simon warns Jasper with a wary sigh. He wants to advertise Ryan. Isn't that a little showing of what he sees us as? Not a care in the world for how much he's put Ryan through today alone. He wants to show off his newest product. You can let him treat you that way if you like, but I won't, and I will call him out on it every time. A smile crosses Jasper's lips as he looks over at Ryan. Seems like the advertising issue isn't so urgent. Someone's made a fan page under your name. Ryan Curtis, Obsolete's newest hottie. Jasper reads the group's name and turns his phone around to show the members, who rush forward to see it. Made 2 minutes ago, there's already 460 people that have liked it. Ryan stares in awe as the number rises. People like me, he states, sounding both relieved and terrified. Like Jasper said, he can't hide in the shadows now. And that's where it ends.
Yay, that was marvelous. We loved that.
Awesome read.
That was really cool. I'm going to hand it straight over to both recent and
Yeah,
Really.
I thought your voice was very clear and fantastic. I think your writing was smooth and wow, yeah, great story and the romance, of course. Give it to me. Yep.
So you, both you and Reese are much more skilled at writing love scenes, sex scenes,
romance. Romance. Yeah.
So you're much more experienced and advanced at that than I am. That's why I'm going to let you both feedback, because I think I thought it was really good. It was really interesting read. I really enjoyed it. I want to find out more what happens with the characters. It's curious that you've chosen. Is it two males?
Yeah, it's two guys, right?
Yeah, it's really curious that that you've chosen those as your lead characters. I'm assuming that they are the lead characters, unless you've got other characters in there.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So what made you choose those ones?
Those two characters, honestly, like I said, I make it all up as I go along. I sat down to write a chapter of a story, and I was like, I want to write a character that has anxiety and is placed in a boy band all of a sudden, and a character that is really, really confident performer but has no self-awareness, and that's just where it came from.
I think that's great. I think those are two very believable personalities. Do they get together before the end?
Yes, yeah, it's a bit of a slow burn. But, like, obviously, there's lots of connection between them throughout the book, and yeah, it's a happy ever after sort of ending.
It's so funny you say it's a slow burn, because I'm like, you can feel the tension in the moments throughout the read that you had. I loved it. But I was over here in the chat going, I wonder what that ship name should be.
They're right. Yeah.
Yes, I guessed it.
That's great. Does it get intimate at all? Is there any erotica in your story?
It sort of depends on what your idea of erotica is. For me, I'm a demisexual, and Ryan's character is a demisexual, so a lot of the focus is more on the emotional side of it when it does become more intimate. But because it is a slow burn, there's sort of just like maybe one scene where it gets a little bit more intense for them, but it's very emotion based rather than the physical side of it. And the rest of it's just like alluded to moments.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. And
it takes a special author to be able to pull that off too. Listen, that is a talent. That's a talent.
I'm just aware that my Nana will read it, so.
Sorry, Nana.
Sorry, Nana. No, I hope she loves it. She sounds very progressive.
Yeah.
And you've got other books planned. You said you wrote this one sort of stream of consciousness. Do you have notes planned out for your further two books, or is it going to be
the other two books are completely written. I've just got to edit through them.
You're already done. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I wrote it all as one big story and then broke it down into sections. So where this book ends is actually where I intended on the story to end online. But because it's a slow burn and because I don't plan much ahead, by the time I got to the end of the story curve, the relationship wasn't quite ready to be finalized. And so I was like, I have to keep going. There's still a lot that's come into it. There's a lot of things that still need to happen to show the characters progressing. Like this part of the story is told, but there's just too much that needs to happen before I can finish it. And that took me 2 other whole books.
That's awesome. That's great.
I'm going to ask you, because Adam and I were talking at the very beginning about like our editing process and how it differs. So when you're editing, what do you do to edit your books? How do you get your stories written?
I use Pro Writing Aid to help me like see where I need to focus a lot of my attention. But definitely getting this one published showed me a lot of where I need to focus, because I had an editor work with me on it. And so there was a things are now going for the next book, I'm able to see the things that she's going to pick out next. And I'm like, oh yeah, get rid of this part and change the wording here. And yeah, so I'm still learning the whole editing process and honestly making it up as I go along and hoping it turns out fine.
I think a lot of authors feel like that. Again, I don't know, at the beginning, we talked about imposter syndrome, and that you kind of don't feel like, even owning the word "I'm an author," that is really, it's a hard thing to process and accept. So the fact that you are writing in the way that you are, and you've got your style, and it's obviously worked for you, and I think that's great. I really do. Reese, what about you? What's your style of editing and writing? Is it, because obviously the three of us have now got very different styles of doing it. So what about you?
Honestly, as far as doing Trapped, what I actually did was I set up I was using Word to go through the process of actually writing everything out. So I would use the read aloud function, which is so emotionless. But I mean, it's so ridiculous because when it actually gets to scenes, by the way, Claire, Adam and I have tons of erotica in our books. So this is the reason why we're talking about it. But when it gets to those scenes,
it's in this, and I'm like kissing. Oh, I could just about stretch to a kiss, and that's about as far as I get in my. These two are like expert. That's why I kind of passed it over to them, because obviously the scene that you read, I was just like, I'm not really an expert on any of this at all.
We're in the romance. We're in the romance. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. So funny. No, you're fine. But what I normally do is I'll actually listen to it, because a lot of times I'll miss my mistake. I'll read over it, as far as just having paper and pen, but there's still some things that I'll miss, and I'm listening to it and I catch weird things. Like I was using the word quirk, I think, and it came out as quack. It's midnight and I'm listening to this audio and I'm cracking up laughing because I'm like, quacking? Really? So I get a kick out of it too. So
I've got to do that. I still haven't done that yet. Both you and Jules have recommended using the read function. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I've got to do that. That's cool.
I do that. It's a really good way of doing it.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty helpful.
All right, I have to.
But it will make the section hilarious because, like Reese said, it reads it so emotionless. So it's monotone, and you're listening to a sex scene, like, this is so boring.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Yeah. You and Reese write in like reality, in the sense of like actual things that happen like now, kind of thing. In the sense that you're writing in the Earth world, whereas myself and Adam write on completely different planets, away from reality. It's fancy. Yep. So I don't know, Adam, you might have the same trouble that I have, where you've created the name for a character or a place, and you just get met with a stone cold silence when it gets to that particular word in your read, but when it's really back to you. So you end up with like the word you miss, and it's really interesting when you have a character who's that. It kind of,
I've got a lot of weird words in my, you're right. I can't wait to see what happens. I've got a lot of weird words in my book, so that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, the pronunciations are going to be crazy.
It's pretty good on the most part, but I have a character called Kez, which I don't think is a particularly difficult word to figure out. It's just Khes, Kez, simple. But every time Kez is saying anything, when it reads it back, it's just nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing says something. So yeah, good luck with that.
I had something strange. I think the word was just wed, and it kept saying we were Wednesday, and I'm like, why do you keep saying Wednesday? The word is wed.
I've been using Speechify, so I don't know if the actual software itself that they use is the same or whatever. But on Speechify, you can have Gwyneth Paltrow read, and she sounds like a robot. So if you want to hear Gwyneth Paltrow read as a robot, I highly recommend Speechify. You know. But that was I really enjoyed that. You know, it's a very interesting genre to write in. What's the age range that you geared it towards? Do you have that? You just kind of
For my
written-
book,
Mm.
it's sort of an adult because there's a lot of profanities in it. Otherwise, I think it would fall under young adult sort of a theme. But yeah, too many swear words.
The kids, so teenagers read quite a lot of books that got lots of swearing in it. I think it's more real heavy sex scenes that can tend to take it out of the young adult realm to the adult realm. But yeah, I mean, kids.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. Yeah, I feel like the novel that I'm doing is definitely adults only. I feel like it should have an explicit lyrics, you know, like the album should have
multiple.
But there's almost no swearing in my entire book. There's almost no swearing. It's all just really dirty. And I've done what Claire's talking about. I've got another book that is there's no erotica at all, but the people are talking very naturally, and there's tons of swearing in the dialogue between characters. I get that vibe, yeah. And I decided to leave swearing out because my book might be so dirty.
Well, yours has got erotica in it, Reese, isn't it? But I don't know about the swearing.
Yes.
You've got both, have you?
There's some. It's not overt, but there's some in there. I mean, there's quite a few F-bombs dropped in there in sporadic places, and they're necessary to get the point across in some of those scenes. But yeah, it's pretty intense.
See, mine doesn't have. I don't have any sex scenes at all. I have sexual assault implied heavily, but nothing described graphically at all. And she has a kiss with another character. But again, I've not written that with any graphic in it. There's no actual sex in it yet. I might be brave enough to maybe. I don't know. It depends. But there's
I think you've got to address sexuality at your own level. It's not. I address it at my level, Reese at hers, Claire, Jules, everybody at their own level. No, there's no pressure to be overly sexy if you don't feel those ways. No way. Totally.
Not at all.
Be yourself.
Not at all, because everybody's got their niche, and that's basically what it is. You don't want to push yourself too far outside of what you know. To try to get a different audience, you know, you want to go with what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. I suppose also because like my character, she like in book 1 she has this sexual assault, and the rest of the series is about her recovering from that really, and everything else that happens to her. And you know, obviously sexual assault victims have various ways of recovering, and for her it is complete avoidance, I suppose, and it's. I don't know. I'm still thinking. I'm pondering how that would work. But I mean, I don't know. Regan's quite a nice character. I quite like him. But I also like Tori too. So I don't know. We'll see. She's awesome.
You can be with all of them, and you can keep it subtle. You don't have to tell us exactly what's happening. You just let us know that there's a relationship going on. You know, yeah. I think that's
you should start charging. That's like, what's that? How many tips have you given me now tonight? Just this show. Like you give me tips on editing, told me, oh yeah, tell everyone about your mindset, like how to change people's mindset in terms of editing, because that got missed on YouTube, but Clubhouse heard it. But you changed the way I looked at editing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I view editing like a puzzle. I think that most people either thrive with puzzles and love them and do them really well, or they hate puzzles and don't like doing them at all. And I view editing as a puzzle. I've got a paragraph of words that I've written, and they may get my point across, but they may not be the end result. And so instead of looking at editing, Jules was saying she looks at it like a chore or an assignment. I feel like it's part of a major part of my process. And I go in with certain goals in mind in advance. I know that I've written a first draft. I know that the word had is in there, and I want to take out every instance of the word had that I possibly can, because it's a watered down word that means almost nothing. And so I've replaced all of those, and I go in with this puzzle mindset. Okay, it's this way, and it's not organized correctly. It needs to be organized as a puzzle, and that's what I do. That's how I edit, and I don't know, it works for me, and Jules seemed to like that idea, so yeah.
Yeah, very much so. It kind of, I think because of my work history, having to read and mark spelling, punctuation, grammar, and then go back and check if does it meet the spec requirements and everything else, or the specification requirements of the examination board, and all that, it really made reading stuff over and over again really tedious. And that's, I think, how I was looking at the editing process in my books. And I think it's a completely wrong attitude to have. And like, like tiny little thing you said at the beginning, I was just like, oh yeah. So I am now going to look at it in that point of view. I think that's amazing. I
think editing is a major part of the creative process. I feel very creative while I'm editing. Yeah, I was saying this also, that I always have a second document open on my computer or my phone or wherever I'm working, so that while I'm editing and other ideas pop into my head, I can go to this other document, write down that other idea real quick, and then get back to my editing, because it feels like I'm doing this puzzle. I feel really creative, and even though I'm focused on something I've already written, my brain is like percolating all these other ideas that it's like, oh, what if you wrote a story about this? Oh yeah, okay, let's put that down. What if you wrote it? Okay, I'll do that. I'll write that down too. And then I come back to the editing and get back into what I'm doing. But yeah, I feel really creative while editing.
It triggers things. It triggers other thoughts. Sometimes it allows you to expand on what you've already written, because I think I actually ended up rewriting an entire chapter doing that. Going through the editing process, I'm like, nope, I don't want this. Scrap the whole chapter and start it from scratch.
On my last edit, before I sent my book to the editor, I realized that I was missing a great opportunity with a scene, and it's actually the ending scene of my book. And I was like, hold on, I could add this little piece of information that I put in the story here, and it would be hugely impactful. And now I read that scene, and I'm like, that was nothing without this extra little piece in it. Like, how did I miss the opportunity all of these times? And it was the last edit before I sent it to the editor, and I'm like, what?
Click. Yep,
Isn't
it amazing how when creative people get together, that sharing of ideas sparks other ideas, that sparks other bits of creativity, that enhances creativity, etc., etc. I think it's amazing. It's a really nice place to be, where you can be with people who are fellow mind, who understand. You know, like Reese, you describe what you do when you have an idea, when you're talking to people. It's so funny.
Oh, I will stop you mid-sentence. Hey, hold on one second. And I'll jot it down mid-conversation. I have shushed people in the middle of phone calls. They have literally, I'm going back to a house phone, so you know it's been a while. I was in high school, and I remember having a conversation with somebody, and I'm writing, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and I pick it up and go, hello, shh, 1 second. And I put the phone right back down, and I start writing. They're like, really? Hello? Okay, I'm back now. What were you saying? I'm awful with that. I'm serious. I will stop you mid-conversation to get that note down. It's crazy. But that's just part of the process. Sometimes things hit you at the most inopportune moments. I'm driving and something will pop up. And just like Adam says, you know, he talks to the phone. I'm like, wait a minute, I can do this note thing when I get to this red light, and I can talk to the phone real quick and just get down my thought, and I can keep on going.
I think that's really cool. What do you do, Claire, when you're like in that creative moment, when you're like brainstorming your ideas?
Yeah, I forget a lot of ideas because I never write them down. Like, I have a Word document saved on my computer that's titled "New Work in Progress Idea," and it's literally empty. I'm like, what was the idea? I Made no note.
That's hilarious.
That is so cool. I love that. So I mean, this is open to all three of you in terms of when you have that very first moment where you open a document and you're going to start writing and it's blank. What is it you do I mean, is it because you've got ideas prior to get into that point and you've just then got to stop and spew them onto it? Or do you have that blank document like, right, now I need to think about what I'm going to do? How do you go about doing
Stare at the empty Word document for a while.
Right. Claire's like, listen, it's going to be blank for a little while.
Do you do the sort of like the blank slightly off the side of your computer where you're just staring just a little bit beyond and you're just sitting there staring at it for a very long period of time, and then maybe someone comes into the room and they're like, "What are you doing?"
I'm working. Yeah.
The way I'm writing, doing with nothing.
Didn't you see my face? You saw my face.
Concentration. Honestly, I'm musically motivated. So if I'm planning to work on a specific thing or a specific scene, I'll play certain music to trigger my mind into that particular realm. Specifically for this book, because a lot of it is set in like the late 90s into 2000. I actually just pulled up the music around that time and I started listening to all of the things that I was listening to at that particular point, and it helped build a lot of the scenes. Like I got a couple of club scenes that I was able to use it for. And even some of the love scenes, I've actually built one into a scene with 3 of the characters, and they're dancing and there's a specific song that plays within that. So I'll play that on repeat while I'm writing the scene from time to time, or sometimes I'll do an entire playlist. Actually, I have a playlist in the book. So it gives you a list of some of the songs that I actually used for writing some of the chapters.
That's a really interesting
idea.
Yeah, that is a really cool idea.
I love that idea. I don't know. I don't have if someone said to me, what's your favorite genre of music? I would not be able to answer them. I don't have a favorite type. My favorite type, I suppose, is the type of music that makes me feel something. And so what I mean by that is I tend to get goosebumps. So there's certain Disney songs, there's certain Disney songs which I love because I get that response. But then there's also other songs by a group called Two Steps to Hell who do like lots of battle music. I get the same response then. And it's such a mad feeling. So whenever I get a feeling like that, I know that that's a song that I can tune into. And then I normally have that playing in the background depending on the scene. So if it's a really sad scene, then obviously I have the sad music playing. And if it's a big battle, then I have the battle music playing. And that's what really drives my writing. I tend to sort of focus in on that.
Claire, do you listen to music while you write also?
All the time, yeah. Sorry, my kid's coming to the room. What are you doing, buddy? Go find Dad. Off you go, bud.
Sweet.
Sorry.
Our show tune friend over here. So when you started joking about Disney, I'm like, I immediately thought about Adam. I'm like, show tunes.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There's some songs in Frozen which are really good, especially Frozen 2. Really, really good track. There's also a track in Moana as well, where they're on the ocean. You know the way. It's another really good one, and I love it because it's got the actual language at the beginning as well, which I'm still trying to learn. Not very well. Sorry, Claire, you were saying.
I don't remember what I was saying.
We were talking about music. Yeah.
Oh yeah, music. Yeah, no, I'm very musically inspired. I love music. My entire playlist for this, I challenged myself to put it as just boy bands, so that was a lot of fun.
That sounds cool. Is it K-pop just out of interest, or is it a mix of other things as well?
No, not K-pop. Just like have like One Direction and the Summer and like
Great
My
song.
Chemical Romance, my favorite band at the moment. So it's been my favorite band for like the last years. But yeah, so it's a lot of those songs.
Nice. I used to work with someone once who, I think she was really in her teenage years because she flat out refused to listen to any music other than just pop songs. Now, there's nothing wrong with just like pop. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But her attitude, her attitude was, if it's not pop song, then it's not music. It's not worth listening to because it doesn't mean anything. And so one of the questions that was asked of her was, all about when you're watching a film, you know, and there's music in the background there, you know, and it's like really dramatic music, or you know, music is meant to make you feel something. And she was just like, no, just won't have any effect on me at all. It's like, okay.
Wow.
It's a strange opinion to have.
Yeah. Not one I share. But there you go. All right. So, do you guys? What is your? We've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to ask you some questions. That's fine. This goes out to all three. Who has been the most inspirational person to you in terms of your writing? So not necessarily someone who's inspired someone has made you think about writing, or even been someone in your mind whilst you're writing. But you know, who would you say has been an inspirational part of the writing process? I love the deep thought that's going on here.
That's a deep question, Jules. I'm like, I want to say for me, it's probably been a few different people over the years. Initially, it was probably just the fact that I really love to read. That was my first thing. So, you know, the love of reading, I think, triggered it initially when I was really young. When I got older, it would have been a lot of the people that I read at that particular time. I was big into Stephen King at one point, which I think is totally hilarious considering what I write. But I was a big horror fan middle school up through the beginning of high school. I was a big horror fan. And then from there, I went into Tara McMillan and Ebony Snow and who else? Eric Jerome Dickey. So there's been different people along the way as far as the different authors that I've been exposed to over time. But I mean that is really a deep question. Like seriously, it's really making me think. I'm like, yeah, there's been a few different people, and I think too it depends on the level that you're at as well as an author. Who's going to inspire you the most? But yeah, those are my top ones.
Interesting. Very interesting. What about you? Either Claire or I don't mind who goes. Let me look stare at
Well, I
I'm gonna
was
go.
really inspired. I read a lot of books when I was a kid, and I don't think any authors really stood out to me as like inspiration for me to write. But I just loved storytelling, and honestly, probably got to credit Doctor Who for writing so much. You get absolutely destroyed by Doctor Who episodes, and just think this is the most incredible thing I've ever experienced in my life, and like some of the plot twists that they would pull off. And so I think like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat are big inspirations for me because they emotionally destroyed me, and that made an impact.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's so interesting to hear the difference the different type of inspiration. What about you, Adam?
I feel like my writing and my book was heavily influenced by Terry Pratchett and his Discworld series. Like Jules was saying earlier, the world building, the world in my story is almost the main character, and then the people live through the world, sort of. in my elevator pitch, I don't even mention the main character once the whole way through, because it's all about what this world is so unique and interesting. And that's what Terry Pratchett did with the Discworld, is that you've got these characters. It's a whole series of books with the characters that are all living and experiencing different things on the disc, and the world is the main character that then all these people go through. So for me, him, but there are a bunch of authors. Tolkien was my first love when I was much younger. I was a teenager, and I read Lord of the Rings for the first time, and that's the book that got me hooked on writing, and it's probably the main reason why I write fantasy also, is because of that. I totally misunderstood your question. You were saying who influenced you. I didn't think of authors. I was thinking of like, so who influenced my characters? Let me see. I guess sort of. I've got
that's a part of it.
It was it's fine. It was an open question. It wasn't like I didn't stick with. That's why I kind of left it very broad, because what influences one person is going to be very different from someone else. So how you interpret the question is absolutely fine. There's no restrictions. I'm not going to say that's not what I asked, because actually I didn't specify specifically what I meant. I left it very open for you to interpret. So by all means, explain. It's fine.
Yeah. I think that my main character is not based on me at all, and everybody I've told that to finds that a little funny. I don't feel like I put myself into the main character at all. Instead, I feel like I put myself into all the sub characters, all the secondary minor characters. This person is like me when I do this. This person is like me when I'm into that thing, and they're more based on aspects of my personality, whereas the main character is based on my life partner and how our personalities are so different. So yeah, that's
yeah. It's so interesting to listen to. Actually, how you interpreted that was obviously very unique to you, and I love that. So it's been so interesting listening to different opinions on the questions I've asked tonight. And thank you so much for your patience, guys. It's kind of gone a bit wrong tonight in terms of technology, which is my own fault.
great.
Yeah. Now then, I am going to say farewell. Thank you. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure. Oh, we would love to have you back again. So if you've enjoyed this morning view, I think, and you'd love to kind of like brace the early morning rise again, and come on visit us again, then we would love to have you here. And I hope you've enjoyed your time with us. And so I will say farewell. Carolyn has also been making some comments in the comment section too. So thank you, Carolyn. I'm happy to have you here as well. Thank you, Adam, for also propping me up numerous times tonight. And thank you as well. It's always an absolute pleasure seeing you. And also thank you to Indy for his background. Thank you so much. And I will see you same time next week. Goodbye.
Next week. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.